All right, Larry Krueger with you for Niners Nightly on this Friday. Hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome to Niners Nightly on September the 27th as we get things rolling. 6:15 tonight. We started a couple minutes late because Adam and Tommy were going a little long. But welcome to Niners Nightly. And tonight we'll go from 6:15 to 7:15. And we got a great hour for you. We'll talk a little bit about the day that was in Santa Clara. I'm going to let you hear a conversation that I had in the locker room with a guy that is going to be increasingly important to the 49ers in the days and weeks ahead, and that's Sam Ainu, the former Maryland Terrapin star. Had a really fun conversation with Sam in the locker room. Really interesting guy. He's a kind of a short, really strong, fast defensive end. He's not your 6'5" guy. He's more like 6'1", 275, really strong, great leverage player. And this is a guy they're going to need. They're going to need all hands on deck, especially with no Javon Hargrave to rush the passer. So we'll talk a little bit with Sam Ainu coming up in the next segment. And then bottom of the hour, Tom Kern's going to stop by. He covers the Patriots for NBC Boston. And we'll catch up with Tom and get his thoughts on the matchup, Niners and Patriots. Now, today in Santa Clara, we had a chance to, go to practice and then talk to Kyle Shanahan, go into the locker room, talk to some of the players. Basically, Debo's out there and he practiced on Thursday and Friday, and it looks like he's going to go. He's still among the 5 Niners listed as questionable. So you're definitely going to want to tune in to the 49er pregame show with John and Dennis and Adam. And I'll join them on Sunday for a segment, because one of the big questions in the pregame is going to be who's going to play. Is Debo going to play? He's questionable. Trent Williams has a toe injury. He was listed as questionable, and he was at practice today, but I didn't see him actually working out with the offensive lineman. He was kind of off on the side. D Winters has got an ankle injury that he kind of rolled, I believe, last week. So he's questionable. He's a key guy because Devondre Campbell is just absolutely getting ripped. I mean, they're just torching Devondre Campbell. I mean, like 14 of 16. I mean, he's given up just unbelievable amount of pass plays in a short amount of time. So Winters is his backup. And I know Campbell's not excited about sharing any time with Winters. I'll say this, Winters might be on the verge of stealing that job and just taking it outright from Campbell. And then Jordan Elliott, also questionable. He's got a foot injury. Now, he was carted off yesterday in Thursday's practice, but Lynch said today to Murph and Marcus on the morning show that Elliott, that he didn't have to be carted off, that it was just a matter of he hurt the foot and he was out there and they just didn't want him to walk on it. It wasn't like, oh man, season ending injury, nightmare situation, nothing like that. He was in the locker room walking around. I don't know about his status for Sunday, but it doesn't sound like if he misses Sunday that he's going to miss a significant amount of time, even if he does miss Sunday. And then Talanoa Hufanga's got an ankle injury. So Hufanga with the ankle, Elliott's with they said it was a foot, but now they're saying it's an ankle. Winters with the ankle, Trent with a toe, and Debo with the calf. And I'll say this, Debo's moving around and looking good. Brock Purdy also was a full go. The bad news is Javon Hargrave, obviously done for the year, torn tricep. And then Curtis Robinson, likely done for the year as well. So torn ACL, looks like, for Curtis Robinson. So that was what we found out earlier today. Also, it sounds like Spencer Burford got some run this week at right tackle. And there's a chance that Spencer Burford may wind up playing some right tackle if Colton McKivitz struggles. That's something to look for. I mean, that was a little bit of a surprise. But yeah, Burford has been working out at right tackle. And they have Jalen Moore, and obviously they have Trent. Moore is the backup if Trent can't go. And then they also have Chris Hubbard on the practice squad if they want to go that direction. But they're starting to think of using Spencer Burford at offensive tackle, which is interesting because he played right tackle at University of Texas at San Antonio. So that is going to be something to watch for sure. Colton McKivitz, more so than the other offensive linemen, has just really, really struggled. And, how can the Niners continue to give up lots and lots of pressures on Brock Purdy? And they don't have lots of options at tackle, as I just said. But, if Burford, who looked really good in practice, I thought earlier this week, moving around really well, looking really explosive. I think that's the best footwork I've seen from Spencer Burford since he's been a 49er, what he demonstrated this week at practice. And I don't know if he's just ramping up to try to play tackle or if they're selling him on it or if he's doing some different conditioning, but he just looked like really, really light on his feet. And he had a number of good reps at practice this week. So maybe Burford, if McKivitz keeps struggling, is gonna kind of trend towards playing. That's something to watch. It's early in the year. You don't want to overreact. That's first and foremost. But you are going into week 4. You are 1-2, and I think you can make some evaluations. I've already made a couple. To me, as soon as D Winters is healthy, I'm sitting Devondre Campbell for D Winters. I mean, Campbell has been targeted now 16 times, and he's given up 14 receptions for 149 yards and a touchdown. In this last game, Kyron Williams beat Campbell on a route out of the backfield for a 15-yard touchdown. And then Stafford hit Parkinson down the field, and it was a PI call on Campbell, and that set up the game-winning field goal. So, I mean, to me, Campbell is a liability in coverage, and I'm not seeing this terror against the run either. The one thing that's really clear when you watch the 49ers is they desperately miss Dre Greenlaw. Greenlaw was so good in so many levels. Now, they miss Greenlaw as a run defender, clearly. They miss his speed and athleticism. They miss his ferociousness. But more than anything, I think it's the combination of he's such a ferocious player that he's an incredible leader and tone setter. And they also really miss his speed in coverage against the run and pass. And so I would go with Winters because to me, Campbell doesn't give you either. Campbell doesn't give you that speed. He doesn't give you that coverage ability. And he's not that kind of a ferocious personality. Winters is not a ferocious personality either, but he's very fast. And that's the guy that I would put out there. The offensive football is about creating space. Defensive football is about closing that space down. And in my opinion, D. Winters can close that space down significantly better than Devondre Campbell. And I know they signed Campbell as a free agent. So what? You drafted D. Winters. What, free agents take precedent over draft picks? I mean, you guys acquired both these guys. It's not like you inherited one or some different regime. You brought Winters in. You brought Campbell in. So play the best guy, and the faster guy is Winters. And if somehow the 49ers wind up losing this game and they get rumbled on by Ramondre Stevenson and Devondre Campbell has another bad game, I think he's definitely the guy that is going to get yanked. Now, I would do it before Sunday, but they're probably going to wait. The other guy that I think probably should get yanked is Isaac Yiadom. I mean, if you look at the numbers, Isaac Yiadom is getting picked on as well, and he doesn't have good numbers. Opposing quarterbacks are having a ton of success targeting Yiadom. So Renardo Green's faster. He's a better cover guy. He's faster. At Florida State, they play a ton of man-to-man, and Renardo Green played a lot of man-to-man. So he is a better cover guy who can mirror a receiver closer up and down the field than Yiadom. So in the name of the same thing that I would say with Campbell, I'd say the same thing, with Yiadom. In the name of getting faster and closing down the space, I wouldn't go with Yiadom. I'd go with Renardo Green. I wouldn't go with Campbell. There's no way. I'm not going. I'd much rather go with D. Winters. Now, the other factor in this game is going to be Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper. New England has two really solid tight ends. They've accounted for 27 of New England's 71 targets. So there's no question, stopping these tight ends Sometimes they'll be in 12 personnel with the two tight ends. Sometimes they won't be, but they use both. And Henry's a great receiver. Hooper is a De La Salle kid who's very strong, very experienced, also a really good receiver. The one thing in this game that favors the 49ers in a dramatic fashion is the Niners defensive front. The Niners defensive front should be able to push this New England offensive line around. I mean, that's really the key in this game. Jacoby Brissett has been pressured on 46.4% of his dropbacks this year. That's the highest percentage in the entire league. He's been sacked on only 11.5% of his dropbacks. That's the fourth highest rate in the league. But he's been pressured at the highest rate in the entire league. Now, he does decently against pressure. He's 11 of 25 for 113 yards against pressure. So it's not like if you pressure him, it's game over, he'll fold. 6 of his 9 sacks was when he wasn't blitzed. A lot of times veteran quarterbacks, if you blitz them, you're giving them a defined read. You're making it real easy for them because they know exactly where they're going to go once they see the blitz. When you look at the fact that 6 of his 9 sacks came when he wasn't blitzed, that means that when you make him kind of go through his progressions and scan the entire field, he either doesn't do it quick enough or his line can't protect enough. And I think it's more the latter, his line can't protect enough. The Niners, by the way, don't blitz. They've only blitzed 14.1% of the dropbacks this year through the first 3 games. It's the lowest blitz rate, not just of the year. It's the lowest blitz rate that Shanahan's ever had. I would imagine that's going up. You lose Javon Hargrave. You're going to have to get creative in how you rush the passer. The 49ers have 8 sacks in 3 games. It's right at the NFL average, but now they lose Hargrave. Bosa leads the Niners with 12 pressures, but Hargrave was second. He had 8. Malik Collins and Leonard Floyd have 11 pressures combined. But to me, why, if you say the Niners are going to win this game, they're going to win in grand fashion, it's because Nick Bosa is going up against Caden Wallace, and Caden Wallace, or could be Leonard Floyd going up against Caden Wallace. Caden Wallace, who's a guard at Penn State, is playing left tackle, I believe, for the Patriots right now. And he's already allowed 3 pressures on I think 28 pass blocking snaps this year. So he's held up all right, but he's never seen technicians and veterans like Floyd and Bosa who have all the tricks in the bag. And to me, this is where the 49ers either win or lose this game. You could make an argument that the Niner D-line should have dominated. They dominated the Jets' offensive line. They should have dominated the interior of Minnesota's offensive line. And they just didn't. And then the Rams' offensive line was a disaster, and they still didn't dominate it. Now you've got New England's offensive line that's really struggling. The left guard out, the left tackle out. You got a rookie guard now playing left tackle. If the 49er defense, which is 26th in pressure rate, doesn't get pressure in this game, that is an awful, awful sign for the future. For the future of this season, I should say, because this offensive line is challenged, and it's not a great line. And if the Niners defensive line can't get pressure in this game, that's not going to be a good sign. By the way, I talked to T.Y. McGill in the locker room today. He's going to get the designation and the call up tomorrow. He's a guy that can help them as a pass rusher. He's not Hargrave as far as size and strength. He can't play that many snaps. He's not as good against the run, even as Javon is, but he's but he is a pass rusher. T.Y. McGill will shoot gaps and get penetration and get into the backfield. So anyway, we'll take a break right here. We'll come back. Sam Ainu is going to join us next. We'll listen to a dialogue that we had in the locker room just a day ago, and then bottom of the hour we'll talk a little bit, or I guess we are at bottom of the hour. What we'll do right here is we'll come back with Tom Kern, and then we'll finish up with Sam Ainu as we continue on Niners Nightly. Hope you've been enjoying the Niners Nightly show. We're with you Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 o'clock on the radio, unless there's a Giants game going on. So we've been on YouTube a lot recently, but once the Giants season ends, we'll be on from 6 to 7 on the radio Monday through Friday, and we'll be back in a minute with Tom Kern from NBC Boston. All right, welcome back to Niners Nightly. I'm the sports leader, Larry Krueger, with you as we get you ready for the Niners and the Pats coming up Sunday. And with us to help us break it all down, a guy who's been on the beat and covering the Pats for years, Tom Curran. He's a great follow on X, Tom E. Curran, Pats Insider. You can catch him on NBC Sports Boston. Tom, is it true that you putt one-handed?
100% true. And I try to get away from it because, I have enough friends to play with who think it looks ridiculous. And I'll go away from it. And then I'll say, you know what? I'm pulling everything. I'm going back to one hand. And then boom, 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 boom. So
look at you. Okay. I'm that, crazy guy who does more prep than anybody. So last night I got the NFL Plus and I said, you know what? I'm going to go through all the Patriots games, and I watched all of Cincinnati, all of Seattle, all of the Jets. And it's this beautiful thing called the NFL Plus. You can watch each game in like 22 minutes. But what I found was, they're 1-2, and their offense doesn't look all that explosive. They don't have great weapons, but it's a big offensive line. The quarterback, Brissett, will run if you give him a lane. Ramondre Stevenson is a bull. I mean, he is a bull. Pop Douglas is a slippery little wide receiver from Liberty who's pretty good. They go 12 personnel a lot. They got two pretty good tight ends in Hooper and Henry. This guard from A&M, Layden Robinson, can pancake your butt if you're not ready in the run game. And then defensively, Duggar, Christian Gonzalez. I mean, they lost Bentley to the injury, but Keon White. The Pats are 1-2, but if the Niners take them lightly, they could easily fall to 1-3. The 49ers could, that is. Give me your thoughts on what New England has looked like, the kind of the 10,000 foot view.
They have been decreasingly effective each week. The first week against Cincinnati, they definitely controlled the line of scrimmage and they were efficient offensively, but a lot of that had to do, Larry, with production on first down and no tape for Cincinnati and Lou Anarumo, and a lot of experience that Alex Van Pelt and Jacoby Brissett had against the Bengals personnel and defense, having been in the AFC North. So the Patriots had their way on first down. That allowed them to be a little more multiple because they are just not talented enough physically right now or experienced enough on the offensive line to hold anybody off. If teams know that, okay, 2nd and 6, they're in a situation where they have to throw. They don't have anybody who can run past you. Their ex-receiver is Tyquan Thornton, who's been in the league for 3 years. I think he has 25 catches. That's their ex, 2nd-round pick. Demario Douglas is a wonderful player, but it seems as if Jacoby Brissett is so risk-averse that he's either going to take the sack or throw it to Hunter Henry or just put it in the spot. They had to really convince Jacoby to throw it to Demario Douglas. So offensively, they're challenged. If they can do well at the line of scrimmage, which they did against Seattle and they did against Cincinnati, and be positive on first down, they'll have a shot. If they can't, then it's going to look the way it did against the Jets. And the Jets play the same defense as the Niners, as you know, and they're going to pin their ears back. And as Dante Scarnecchia, the offensive line coach here in New England for years, told me earlier this week on my pod, they're going to keep doing it until New England proves they can stop it. And I don't know if they're going to be able to stop it.
You just threw out a name there in Dante Scarnecchia that, you're talking about one of the great pillars of that dynasty. It makes me think of the late great Bob McKittrick, who was one of the one of the pillars of the Niners dynasty. So many times when you look for great teams and dynasty teams in the NFL, deep down there's some elite O-line coach that's doing an amazing job, and Dante did that in New England for a long time. What do you think of New England's offensive line this year? Because they do have, it's big, it's physical. They do have some guys who can destroy you. But as you said, it's very young. And now they're going up against, Bosa and Floyd, two real veterans. But honestly, Tom, the Niners defensive line has yet to really get off.
They made a decision to take a quarterback at number 3. That despite the fact that their previous first-round quarterback was held hostage by an offensive line and a lack of protection and a lack of an offensive identity that was instilled by the coaches. So they already burned through one quarterback. Then they drafted another here, but they didn't do anything about the tackle position. Trent Brown had been their tackle the last couple of years. He was built like a Zeppelin. He's now gone to Cleveland. They have a guy named Vidarian Lowe, earnest, nice human, but he's just not cut out to be a frontline offensive tackle. And when Vidarian got hurt, he ended up with, goddamn, I can't even remember who it was.
Caden Wallace, right?
But poor Caden Wallace, yes. I knew Caden Wallace was at left tackle, had never played the position coming into the NFL, right tackle. Meanwhile, he is at left tackle because Chuks Okorafor had been signed as a free agent from Pittsburgh to play left tackle, even though he had never played left tackle. Had only been a right tackle. And Chuks said, you know what? This sucks. I'm out of here. So they don't have anybody at left tackle that anybody in the NFL right now would say that's a good situation.
I mean, it's not the most talented group, but are they well coached?
I mean, they're new. It's like new, Scott. That's the thing is that,
yeah.
I mean, they know basically what they're supposed to do, but you have two rookies out there in Layden Robinson and Caden Wallace, and you have a guy who just got called up from the practice squad in Michael Jordan, and they're overmatched. So, no, they're not good. They might be good by week 7, but you can't roll that stuff out in prime time against the Jets and expect it to work, especially when you don't have any receivers who can take you off the hook. It's just a poorly constructed offense, and it predates Mayo and Alex Van Pelt. I mean, you look around the NFL, Joe Thuney and Shaq Mason are still starting for teams. Those were the guards for the Patriots. Patriots didn't want to pay him, and they're paying the price. Bill Belichick did not want to pay Joe Thuney, moved on from him. He traded for no good reason Shaq Mason. That makes no sense. And that's why it's funny when we talk to Bill Belichick talking, where's he going to land next? You better scrutinize what the hell happened here before you go hiring Bill Belichick.
That's interesting. Yeah, there a lot of talk is that Shad Khan has fallen in love with Belichick and he's going to be in Jacksonville next year with full and total control. We'll see. You know, I'll say this. I mean, this is me from the other coast looking at this thing from afar, but I think Bill Belichick, the GM, let down Bill Belichick, the head coach. I really don't think their drafting has been all that great since Cesario got out of there.
No, drafting was horrendous. The free agent signings were terrible. And the coaching wasn't good either, Larry. It was not good. It was a poorly coached football team, situationally and on a daily basis. Now, if you give Bill a situation where, okay, it's 3rd and 7, can you cook something up? Can you tell the guys what to do? Yeah. But if you're the head coach and you decide that, we'll just put our defense coordinator in charge of the offense, what's the worst that can happen? That's bad coaching. If you have a situation where your best players in 2022 are handling the ball in Jacoby Myers, Ramondre Stevenson, and Mac Jones, and they execute a play against the Las Vegas Raiders that they did, that everybody out there in the Bay Area, I'm sure, remembers, that's a badly coached team. If you have players who would even consider doing what happened on that play, Ramondre Stevenson throwing it behind his head to Jacoby Myers, who then whips it 40 yards downfield to Mac Jones back in midfield. He gets stiff-armed into the depths of hell, and Chandler Jones scores a touchdown. I mean, that's a firing offense right there for anybody else. Yeah. So to me, I don't want to go too far. We're trying to preview this game, but it's a fascinating case study in deterioration of an entire team that people don't, I think, really understand how bad they got.
You know, and that's why we want to have guys like you on, because it's, you know, you don't really know when you're watching from afar. You're only getting impressions. The people who cover these teams on a day-to-day basis know way better. That being said, what kind of talented Bill leave Mayo on the defensive side of the ball? Because, you know, McMillan and Tavai, the two inside backers, both had 10 tackles last week. I know some of those young DBs are pretty talented. I always felt like Bill was one of the best DB coaches out there, you know, right there with Bud Carson, George Seifert. I mean, you think of the best DB coaches ever, I think of Bill. How would you describe this defense? Who are the best players on this Patriots defense, Tom?
Jabril Peppers is their best player at safety. He's been fantastic, great leader, plays with unbelievable violence and fire. You will see him launch himself over a pile for no good reason some point Sunday. Kyle Duggar's the other safety, so they have two good safeties, but those are your two best players. And Kyle Duggar, for no good reason, allowed a 56-yard touchdown to DK Metcalf in week 2 that basically lost the Patriots the game.
Yeah.
Gets caught staring at Russell Wilson. You have an elite receiver in Metcalf, runs right past him, turns into a 56-yard touchdown. I think Duggar's excellent. I think that he has Pro Bowl potential, certainly. But you can't have one of your best and most highly paid players break down like that when your team is that challenged. So those are the two best players. Christian Gonzalez is a very promising outside corner. Tavai is a very good linebacker, Pro Bowl level linebacker. But their front has really dipped and hasn't been able to create any pressure. Some of that I think is the absence of Christian Barmore, who has blood clots and has been out. And as a result, you don't have that guy who just moves the pocket from an interior spot by himself. Jawan Bentley, who's their middle linebacker, inside linebacker, kind of the brain of the defense, he was hurt last week. It was a pectoral situation, so he has been sent to IR, done for the season. So there are pieces, Bentley, Barmore, Anthony Jennings, who's an edge player, Godshaw. I mean, there's good players all over the defense, and they show up there, but they've taken some hits. And right now, to just continue to prattle on, Geno Smith and Aaron Rodgers diced them. You'd have to look at what their numbers were. I think it was 33 for 44 for Geno, and then Rodgers, I think, had like 6 incompletions. But the last two quarterbacks have completed 75% of their passes with 3 touchdowns, no picks, and few sacks. So if Purdy wants to sit in the pocket, wait for somebody to uncover that or get the ball out real quick, that's going to be in the realm of possibility.
The irony of Peppers, Peppers is this monster hitter, and yet he wears the extra cushion dome on top, right? He's wearing the pillow on top, but he'll step up and hit you. There's no question about it.
Wearing it, hell, if you're going to be driving a race car, might as well put on your seatbelt.
There you go. It is when we talk about the Patriots, of course, the quarterback position, where this is big Tom Brady land out here. I'm a big Tom Brady fan myself. And obviously they hope they've got the next Tom Brady and Drake May. They also took a flyer on Joe Milton, and Milton is raw as raw gets, but he may have the greatest physical skill set anybody's ever seen. I mean, you're talking about 6'5", 250, a guy can throw the ball 90 yards in the air. He's an unbelievable physical athlete. What did you think of Milton this summer? What have you thought of May so far? And I guess we're going to see neither of them, right? And we're going to see Brissett unless the game gets out of hand.
Right. Milton, to start there, he's one of those guys that if it was Major League Baseball batting practice, he's the kind of guy that when he's throwing, you stop to watch him throw. It's right. Bizarre. I mean, it explodes out of his hand. And it's pretty accurate. He just he's raw, and his decision-making isn't great, and he'll throw it into some team meetings. Of course, it's going 71 miles an hour, but it's going into a team meeting.
Right.
So he's a wicked nice kid, too. I was like, he was remarkably nice, which is going to bode well for the Patriots quarterback room, I think, going forward, because, Brissett's here on a 1-year deal. And their hope and aspiration will be that Drake May is ready to go by the end of the year and will be their starter. So what have I seen from May? I've seen a guy who made drastic improvement from the person that we saw at the beginning of April. His footwork kind of sucked. His mechanics weren't great. He was dropping down with his arm a little bit. And then he was very hesitant because he was kind of thinking what he was supposed to do. Covering the Niners. It's a very regimented offense and the things that they want players to do in terms of footwork, timing, all that stuff. But he improved a ton throughout the offseason and training camp, to the point now where he still ain't ready in terms of being able to withstand the absolute chaos that would be coming at him. but he would be ready on a team that could support him. If say the Niners swung a trade for Drake May this week, sent Brock Purdy out here, and said, "Let's see what
Oh,
you
so
can
good.
find." He'd probably do pretty well. Niners line is still Trent Williams and the rest. They're still top tier, right?
I mean, the Niners line has and Colton McKivitz is getting burned for lots and lots of pressures.
But
The rest of the line grades out okay, and obviously Trent's Trent.
I don't want to go through the whole scouting report, but what I'm saying is if Drake May was in a situation where he was going to be protected and not let loose in the middle of the highway for chaos, he'd be fine. But they can't put him out there because it's chaos right now.
You put a poll on your Twitter about, it says quick slants poll. Through 3 weeks, the Pats have turned in 3 very different performances. Which one is closest to the real them? Which is a great way to phrase this. And obviously week 1 against the Bengals, which they won. Week 2 against Seattle, you mentioned the DK blowing right by the 2 defenders on the go route, and then that game went to overtime, by the way, in the Seattle one. And then week 3, the Jets took them apart. And the 36% said week 3 against the Jets, I'm afraid. 35% said week 2 against Seattle. Only 3.7 said week 1, and 25%. It's a mix. It's a blend. What do you think, though, Tom? If you were voting in your own poll, which Patriots team is the real Patriots team?
Probably week 2 with a sprinkling of week 3. I think that the Bengals were flat. I think that the Patriots had that experience advantage I alluded to earlier. But what sucks, Larry, is you just don't know how the injuries are going to be weathered. The guys I mentioned on defense, they were such a great tackling team in week 1 and week 2. They rallied to the ball. Everybody was hemmed in. And then once they lost those guys that I mentioned and stress was put on different positions, the tackling was atrocious last week. They had 14 missed tackles against the Jets.
Wow.
14. And then, they allowed 7 sacks as a team, and I believe there were 10 total hits in addition to the sacks. So, we are often persuaded by the last thing that we saw.
Sure.
So right now I am trending towards, I haven't seen them fix it with Caden Wallace and Layden Robinson on the offensive line, and I haven't seen them tackle well with Christian Barmore and Juwan Bentley out. So until I do, I'm suspect.
Two last ones. Do you think it's smart that they're sitting May? Rodgers sat for 4 years behind Favre. Alex Smith came here in that 2005 draft. They threw him out there. He got tarred and feathered and beat up and separated shoulder. And it took him until Harbaugh showed up in his 8th year before he could kind of put everything together. What do you think's the better way? Do you throw a guy out there, Roethlisberger, and let him make mistakes and take your chances? Or is it better to let him sit, watch, and digest things and maybe throw him out there in year 2?
I think that we all would unanimously say it's wait. Even with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, they had Smith there, and they were a playoff. They drafted him, and they were able to still sit him with Alex Smith sitting there. And I think, what would Patrick Mahomes be if Alex Smith hadn't been there and it hadn't been as good a team? Would he have developed the way he has? Would he be Alex Smith? Would he be Patrick Mahomes? I mean, it's worth the question. You look at Sam Darnold right now, trashed in New York because he was put out there too early. Now he's in a better situation with a great offensive coach and a brilliant receiver. And look at it. He's killing it. Bryce Young already on the scrap heap, looking to move on from him. We watched it with Mac Jones. Year 1, he was good. Year 2, he was in probably the most adverse situation that you could be in as a quarterback. And that started his decline. So there is no question that the best thing to do is build the foundation first, then put the quarterback in. That's why I thought the Patriots should have traded down. They should have taken a tackle. They should have taken a wide receiver maybe in the second round. They should have taken J.J. McCarthy at 11 if they wanted to. I think J.J. McCarthy's a terrific player. But they said, we got to have that one. No, we're going to take that one. So
J.J. McCarthy in Boston, that couldn't have worked. right?
Right.
That would have been enormously popular. All right, last one here. Who has the most pressure there? I mean, post Belichick, post Brady. Is it Mayo because he's the head coach? Is it Kraft? Is it Kraft's kid? Is it Drake May? Is it Brissett?
Probably,
Who's got the pressure on them for kissing off on Brady, kissing off on Belichick, and getting down the road? Or are the fans totally with Kraft and the moves that they've made, and there's no pressure on anybody?
it's on Kraft, Larry.
It's on Kraft. Robert Kraft.
Bob Kraft. So he's got the most pressure. He's also 82 and has a lot of money in the bank. So, I mean, pressure is relative. It's not like, 41 and not knowing where the next paycheck's coming from if he loses the job. But it's on Robert Kraft because people hold him responsible for not spending when it was Bill who didn't spend on behalf of Robert. And Bill, because of the fact that he was the figurehead for the Patriots' success in so many ways, along with Brady, people are always going to look at him as being much more sympathetic and appreciated and iconic figure than the owner. It's just the way it is. Sorry. And so regardless of the fact that he went 4-13 and he was obstinate and did a poor job since really prior to Brady leaving, then people are still going to side with Bill and his legacy as a coach and say, well, if Robert was so smart, he'd have fixed it. So that's the heat is on Robert Kraft because he's the one who made the succeeding decisions to bring people in. I mean, he could have sat there for another year with Bill and said, go ahead, take more slings and arrows, but he just could not sit through the possibility of another quarterback being demolished.
Tom, I'm a huge fan of your work. Keep it rolling on NBC Sports Boston. You do a fantastic job. I follow you on X, and we wish you nothing but great health and success this year. And on the way out the door, I mean, since we're talking Niners Pats on Sunday, give me a prediction. And is there any wild card factor player or angle on this game that maybe I haven't brought up to you that you think maybe is pertinent this week?
Nope. They ain't got nothing. They got unveiled. There is no secret sauce the Patriots can hatch to surprise an ornery, pissed off, purpose-driven Niners team on Sunday. This is a bad spot for the Patriots with their injuries, inexperience, the fact they got to travel, and the fact that the Niners are pissed. So there's nothing. So I would say we're looking 28-31-ish to 10-13-ish.
Tom, have a great year. Appreciate your time, man. Tom Kern stopping by from NBC in Boston. Appreciate his time. I probably should unmute myself there. That was the great Tom Kern from NBC Boston, and he's terrific. He really is good, and we really appreciate him stopping by. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a 30-second timeout, get a pull of water, and then we're going to come back. And I caught up with Sam Ainu in the locker room, and I really enjoyed the conversation I had with him. We talked pass rushing. We talked pass rushing, belief and philosophy. We talked film. We also talked about Javon Hargrave and, what's the loss from Sam's perspective. So we'll take a time out. We'll come back in a minute with Sam Ainu as we continue on Niners Nightly on the Sports Leader. All right, welcome back to Niners Nightly on KMBR's YouTube channel. And the 49ers lost Javon Hargrave, and obviously that's an emotional thing. And I went inside the locker room this week, and I wanted to talk to some of the defensive players just about the loss and also a little bit about, the challenge this week of playing the Patriots and just maybe get a little deep into pass rushing. And I always love to try to peel the onion on get these guys talking ball. Anyway, I caught up with Sam Ainu from the University of Maryland, and he's a great guy. Here's a little bit of that conversation right here. We're here in the Niner locker room with Niners defensive end, and Sam, first, I would get this question a lot.
Yeah.
What's the best pronunciation of your last name?
Ainu.
Ainu.
It's
so
Ainu.
There's a lot of letters in there.
Yeah, there are.
Ainu.
Yeah, okay. Ainu. There's a lot of letters silent,
Yeah.
So,
how you feeling? You got a sack
good,
this
man.
week. Obviously, it's a team game. You guys get the win, but how'd you feel about what the film looked like?
I mean, you always feel better after a win, man.
Sure.
A lot of stuff to clean up this week, but thought I felt good out there, looked good out there, man. Trying to take advantage of my opportunities given to me, man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What are the Pats' offensive line? I know it's a bigger kind of physical offensive line. What do they look like on film to you?
I mean, it's never about what they do or how they look, man. It's always about us and our scheme and how we prepare, we try to keep the mentality that, like, our opponent has no face, and we don't try to attack each week and making it all about us and what we do in our scheme, man. So we're gonna get to the film, see what their strengths and weaknesses are, and try to attack it.
How do you feel about this line so far? 3 games in, you guys had a real strong first game against Rodgers. Maybe
Right.
not as much pressure the last 2 weeks. What does the film look like the last couple of weeks?
As far as what?
Well, just as far as you guys as a unit.
I think we're getting better and better every week, man. As the season progresses on, we're not where we want to be, as everybody knows. So, every week, man, when you watch caught on that tape, man, I feel like we're getting better and better each week. So, we got to clean up the little mistakes and then, get ready for Pats.
You're a pass rusher. I've heard other guys say that the best way to set up a tackle is to stripe on a stripe, bull rush them early, and then kind of go from there. Do you have a game plan? Is it change week to week?
Yeah,
or is it the same every week?
I would say, though, the best way to, get an offensive lineman thinking, keep him on his feet is definitely with the power, because, if you can respect your power, then everything else does kind of become open to you, because then he's trying to not get embarrassed, and then he might sit down and give you his hands or – and there's multiple ways to beat them if you respect your power, man. So definitely, when I start the game, I try to let them feel my power, let them know I'm here, and then try to work off that into other moves and shit. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like power is a major strength
for sure. For sure, man. I'm a shorter guy, but I got a lot of weight on me. I know you might not see it, but I got a lot of weight on me and I can move. So, and I got natural leverage to begin to get underneath these taller guys, taller tackles, and force my will. Yeah.
You got 2 real good technicians in Bosa and Floyd.
Yeah.
And they're different body types than yours.
Sure.
But when you watch them, have you been able to steal anything from
Hell
from
yeah.
their pass rush?
I talk to Bosa and Flo all the time. I'm always like picking them, asking them hella questions. I kind of sit next to Nick in meetings, so I know he probably gets annoyed at me. But I always ask him about his rushes, his angles, his mindset going into the rushes, like what he sees, how he's setting up his moves. And Flo the same way too. I'm always shopping there with him, man, trying to see what his mindset is too. Because if you can get 2 different rushers, because they're not the same rushers, everybody have their own style. So just trying to nitpick from each of them and trying to incorporate it into my own game, man. And it has truly helped me a lot since I've been here developing as a pass rusher, man. Having these guys around me, having Nick and Flo and Yee and all these guys in the D-line room, man, it's been great. It's been great.
These guys are, you can learn so much.
Right, of course, man.
When just watching these guys do their thing.
Right.
What about when last year, you get signed here as a practice squad last year, and I talked to you late in the year.
Yeah.
And it's a process, right? So it takes it took the rest of the last year, this off season.
Right.
How did you transition from when you first got here to obviously now you're playing and you're part of the rotation? How's that going?
Well, it's going great, man. It feels good. Man, I really thank my D-line coach, man. I feel like Coach Chris has elevated my games to levels I didn't even know I was capable of, man. He's such a good coach. Like I said, man, he has changed my mindset when it comes towards the run game or the passing game, how I attack it. Just like really focusing in on my opponent's strengths and weaknesses and then exploiting that to my advantages, man. But I've just been playing my role, man. Whatever job they got for me to do, I've been trying to do it to the best of my ability, whether that being on scout team or getting called up on Sunday, man. And whenever my number is called, I'll be ready. Just know
One thing
that.
that stands out when I watch you is the motor.
Yes, sir.
I guess I would imagine you pride yourself on that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, I'm a shorter guy, so I got to make up for in a lot of different ways. So, I try to have relentless motor, and try to bring that power aspect to the game and try to enforce my will on my opponents, man.
A couple last ones for you, Chris. You mentioned Chris.
Yeah.
He's improved your game. How exactly? I mean, for
man, shit.
We
just
won't
like
know ball like you guys know ball, but I mean, give us an idea of a couple things that maybe Chris has done to really help.
I would say just like my rush angles and like how I approach like the tackles, because like if you're too tight to them, then they could just grab you and stuff. So just getting like the perfect width, getting your hands up when you're getting close to them. Realizing what type of tackles they are, because not every tackle is the same. Someone like to kick out wide, someone to kick straight back, someone that might power, someone more finesse. So he's really helped me understand, try to get a grasp of who I'm going against. Like if I'm going against like a big ass tackle, I'm not gonna work power all game. Got to work finesse move, try to get around them. And then as far as like going against someone who may not be as strong as me, and I can really take advantage of him with my power. So he's really opened my eyes, man, and making all my rushes and all my attack look the same. And if you make it all look the same, then you keep him guessing, man. And that's really what he's helped me with.
Let's talk film for a second. You guys watch it as a team,
right?
You watch it as a position group, right? Do you then go into the cut-ups and look at the tackles and? Do you get cut-ups of like the individual tackles? And
we definitely
help you kind of devise your plan?
Of course, that's everything, man. Like we said, we watch a lot of film, but even when I'm home, I'm watching a lot of film too. I like to know who I'm going against. I like to know my opponent. I like to know their tendencies. So, even though we watch film here, when I get home, man, I try to pick up the iPad, 20, 30 minutes, just going at it, trying to see what their tendencies are, man. Because like I said, when my number's called up, I want to be ready, So
I don't know if the fans realize how smart you got to be to be in the NFL.
Right.
I mean,
it's a lot of mental,
not just,
man.
You got to be big, strong, fast.
Right.
It's a lot of your mental.
Exactly,
right?
It is, man. It is. It is. I'll say it's more mental than physical, to be honest.
Really?
Even to be physical, you got to have the mindset to want to run someone over or hit the crap out of someone or to just dominate your opponent. It starts with the mindset and having that confidence. So. And knowing what to do, too. If you know what to do, you can play fast. Or if you know who you're going against, you can play fast and play physical and you can know their weakness and their strength. So, I try to watch a lot of film and try to study my opponents.
Last one. You guys lose Hargrave.
Yeah.
You lose him maybe for the year.
Right.
I mean, that's a tough one, man.
Very
He's a baller.
Yeah.
How does the group step in? I mean, obviously, Big Jordan's got talent. There's a lot of guys in that room with talent. For sure. That's for sure. But
I mean, Hargrave is going to be hard to replace, man. Everybody knows, man. Dude's super productive, flying around, man. I ain't never seen a big dude run around the field like that. He's chasing plays outside the numbers. He's getting pressure on the quarterback. It's definitely going to be hard to replace him, man. I feel like we all got to step in individually. We all got to raise our games, because that's a lot of production that's not going to be out there. So we all got to take the next step, man, to kind of replace what he's not going to be produced because he's out for the year. So we got to step up our game, man, try to replace that production points because he's such a good guy, man. He's on that field wrecking. He's like a wrecking ball out there. And I'm going to miss Grave, man. I hope he comes back strong and better than he was, man, for sure.
Sam, keep it rolling, man.
Yes,
Go Terps, by
yes,
the way.
Go Terps. Go Terps, man. Yes,
Good to
sir.
see you, man. Sam McQuaid. Thanks, man.
There you go. Definitely a good guy right there, Sam Aquino. Welcome back to Niners Nightly. Sam is 6'1", about 270, 275. And you saw him get a sack last week, and he's got ability. He's a lot more explosive than you would think somebody who's 6'1", 270 would be. So you know what? They need all hands on deck with no Javon Hargrave, and Sam is a big part of that all hands on deck. All right. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back with the final thoughts for the last 10 minutes of the show. And Brock Purdy had an incredible quote this week about Ronnie Bell. We'll play some of that for you coming up next on Niners Nightly. All right, welcome back to Niners Nightly. Larry Krueger with you on this Friday night as we pick it up. If you're sitting there going, hey, it's 5 minutes after 7, why is Larry still on? Is he going all night long? No, we started at 6:15, so we're going to go till 7:15 to do a full hour here. And then, of course, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on the radio, you'll hear me on KMBR 680. And we'll talk more about the Niners and the Patriots and look ahead on 49ers forecast. And joining me tomorrow night will be the great Andy Gresh, who was going to be with us the other night, but he fell asleep. So he's going to be with us tomorrow night, and we'll break it all down with Gresh, who's one of my favorite Boston talk show hosts, and we work together at Mad Dog Radio. All right, I want to share the screen on. I asked this question to Brock Purdy, and this is how you become a leader because of how you play, but also the character. And here's just a little illustration. Not that we didn't know that Brock was a guy of character, but Ronnie Bell had a bad drop. And I asked, came out that Brock actually went up to Ronnie and, talked to him about it. And so I wanted to ask Brock about it. And here's what he had to say. Ronnie had a tough drop, and you talked to him after the game. What did you say to try to lift up a teammate in that spot?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I told him, I'm like, this is a team sport, dude. So like for you to hang your hat on, it was all my fault kind of thing. Like I just sat down next to him. I'm like, bro, it takes everybody for 4 quarters. Everybody has their moments and plays, and that's why it's a team sport, man. You got 10 other guys on the field with you. And more than anything, man, I just, he's a brother of all of ours, and we got his back, man. We go through some stuff like this, and it's a long season, man. So you're going to need everybody. It takes everybody. So, keep your head up, learn from it. I'm not saying that that's okay. Like we have a standard here to be great and excellent, and that goes for myself. And so learn from it. We got your back, and keep your head up, man. It's a long season. So he's a good kid, man. We love going to war with him, and he's going to be just fine.
So there you go. And personally, I had took a much more harsh stance, which I said I would have cut Ronnie Bell. And I understand, my argument is just that in a wide receiver room, the guys have to complement one another. And really what the 49ers need more than Ronnie Bell is they need Jacob Cowing. They need Terrace Marshall. They need somebody who can run. They get their receivers. You watch Tutu Atwell go over the top last weekend. The Niners don't have Tutu Atwell. They don't have anybody who can run like that. They don't have anybody who can stretch the field like that and create the kind of space that Atwell and Robinson provide for Stafford and the Rams. Niners don't have that receiver. And, Debo's not that guy. Ayuk is got, good ball skills, and he's made some plays down the field. He's faster than the Niners' other receivers, but he's not fast by NFL standards. I mean, Tyreek Hill is fast. Jalen Waddle is fast. The Niners don't have that 4-2 guy, that 4-3 guy. A lot of people wanted to see the Niners grab Xavier Worthy, who went to the Chiefs in the draft, and Xavier Worthy set the combine record with an incredible 40 time. The 49ers went with Ricky Pearsall. And by the way, Pearsall could be back maybe as soon as next week against the Cardinals. So that's good news. But overall, it's like you're sitting there and you're going, okay, do the Niners have enough speed to stretch the field? Do they have enough vertical speed to create space? And Ronnie Bell, I just think, is a redundant part. I mean, he's not big. He's not fast. He doesn't really separate. His hands last year were spectacular. He's a real student of the game. His dad coaches college football wide receivers. So his dad basically coaches his position at the college level. So he is an instructional video he's very advanced in a lot of ways, which is one of the things that I'm sure the Niners like about him. But he hasn't caught the ball this summer like he caught it last summer. And if you're not particularly big and you're not fast, you got to catch it. You got to catch the ball. You got to catch all of the balls. I mean, that come your way. So, yeah, I mean, Brock lifted him up, and that's good. And the Niners opted to, keep him, and that's fine. But he still has got to catch the ball, and he's still not a great fit. And they still lack speed at wide receiver. So I wouldn't mind, I'm glad that Brock stood up and, gave the kid a vote of confidence. But in reality, I don't think he's the guy. I would, if I could, I would flip him out with Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall is bigger, stronger, faster, younger. I mean, there's nothing that Ronnie Bell does better than Terrace Marshall. Marshall is new to the system, so maybe he doesn't know it as well. Doesn't have the same knowledge of Kyle's offense that Ronnie does after being in this offense now. This is year 2 for Ronnie, but bigger, stronger, faster, younger, more productive, more experienced. I'll take that every day. So, I don't want to say this is it for Ronnie Bell, but I don't think he's got another drop in him. If he drops another high profile pass, he's almost assuredly going to lose his job. And if you really look at what he brings to the Niners and what they really need, they need speed. They need big playability. They need to create space on the field for their underneath receivers. And Ronnie Bell doesn't create space. I mean, he'll catch the ball. He's got good ball skills, but he doesn't create the kind of space that a Terrace Marshall would, that a Jacob Cowing would, that the 49ers, I think, ultimately need. So, it was good that Brock stood up for him. It was good that Brock showed that he's a high character guy and helped out a teammate. But it doesn't change the reality that for guys like Brian Schneider, the special teams coach, and Ronnie Bell, this wide receiver, it's like you're already in the box 0-2. You've already had a couple strikes against you. You're not playing particularly well. Ronnie's not catching the ball as well this summer as he did last summer. And there's been gaffes on special teams. If that continues, if there continue to be gaffes on special teams, Brian Schneider's probably going to lose his gig. I hate to say it. And if Ronnie Bell drops another high profile pass, he probably loses his gig. It's kind of the brutal nature of the NFL. One stat that I want to throw out here that I thought was interesting. I was looking at some of the stuff from Action Network. And this stat is a little bit disturbing, and maybe we can talk about it more tomorrow. But since 2020, the 49ers have 12 losses when they've been leading by 10 points at any point in the game. That is the most of any team in the NFL. The Niners have not been able to finish under Shanahan. And it's so ironic that John Lynch this offseason was like, we need finishers. Damn right you need finishers. You have 12 losses since 2020 when you led by 10, most in the league. Come on, you got to be able to finish. And it's really inexplicable when you think about the 49ers have made a sizable investment on the defensive line. You would think if you get a 10-point lead and you've got a ton of money in your defensive line, that those guys are going to positively impact the game more times than not. They've opted to spend their money on defensive linemen. They've had 12 losses where they've led by 10 since 2020. It's only 2024, September of 2024. So you're talking about the 20 season, the 21 season, the 22 season, the 23 season, and now 3 games this year. So 4 years, over 4 seasons and 3 games, they've got 12 losses where they led by 10. So what's the key? I think the key is just run the ball. Run the ball. JP Mason, how about 20 carries? How about Isaac Guerrero? Get him out in space and give him 5 to 7 carries. Green Bay, when their quarterback went down and they wanted to play complimentary ball and run and help Malik Willis, they had a game where they ran 53 times. And they've got a run heavy scheme right now. Well, when Love comes back, they're going to be better for having that run heavy scheme. The Niners right now need to protect their defense. You got injuries on your defense. You need to win the time of possession by a decisive margin. Run the ball. Dominate the time of possession. Hold the ball for 60% of the game. Keep your defense on the sideline. Especially that's going to be vitally important when you play teams like Dallas and Kansas City and some of these teams that can score 30, 40 points. Maybe the Rams later in the year if they get healthy. You're going to want to make sure that that these teams don't put up big point totals on you. But yeah, you got to finish games. You got to finish games. 12 losses that you've led by 10 points since 2020 is way, way too many. And it's not surprising at all that it's the most in the NFL. That seems like a huge number. That seems like an incredible number. The Niners have to finish better, really just starting on Sunday. They're gonna have to run the ball at New England. New England's susceptible to the run. I watched all 3 of their games. Cincinnati ran it successfully at them. Last week, the Jets ran it successfully at them. The Niners have to run the ball successfully at them and just be real physical at the point. And then Bosa and Floyd have to win against these New England tackles, and Jacoby Brissett's got to feel their pressure. All right, that is going to do it. The hour came and the hour went. Thanks to Tom Kern from NBC Boston. Join me tomorrow night for 49er Forecast at 6 o'clock on the radio. And the great Andy Gresh will be with me tomorrow night, and we'll talk a little bit about the Niners and the Patriots as we have 2 more nights before the Niners take on the Pats at Levi's, needing a win. The 49 2-2 is worlds better than 1-3. And it all goes down Sunday. And of course, join Adam and Dennis and John Lund on the pregame show. And I'll do a segment with the guys on both the pre and the post on Sunday. All right, that does it for us. Have a great Friday night. I'm going to watch a little college football, a little Miami, Virginia Tech. Hope everybody has a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll be streaming with the coach on the Krueger show at 9 a.m. Pacific. And then catch me at 6 o'clock on the radio for 49er Forecast. And as I said, Andy Gresh will stop by and be my guest, and we'll talk Niners and Pats. And until then, have a great night, everybody. Peace.